Hello, my name is MJ and I teach ESL.
My name is Luke and I teach social science. Today we're going to be working on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a psychological theory that was designed by Abraham Maslow, and it basically classifies human needs according to how they are prioritized. So, the reason why it is relevant for student teachers to know and understand it is because it provides educators with a lens through which we understand behavior, motivation, and also how it affects students. So Maslow's hierarchy is part of Chapter 9, and the relevant information can be found in the course notes in week 11 called Motivation, Cognition, and Effect. So MJ, here's how we're going to go forward. First, we're going to provide a detailed overview of the theory, and this is going to allow us to really understand the material. And then we'll look at the case studies and conclude by considering practical applications at the community level. We will end tonight's showcase with a quick recap of useful information. You ready?
I am ready.
Great. So tell us more about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, please.
Absolutely. Maslow's hierarchy of needs came from Abrams Maslow's seminal work in the mid-20th century on human experiences and motivation. As you said in the beginning, Maslow's hierarchy is part of our understanding of human experiences, affect, and motivation. It's one of the most influential humanistic theory on the topic. The original theory contains the following 5 levels, as you can see on the slides. The first one is physiological needs, so things like food, water, sleep, shelter. The second one is safety, so you can think about personal and emotional safety, but also financial safety, health and well-being. The third one is love and belonging, so things like friendship, intimacy, family. The fourth one is called esteem. You can include in that things like recognition, status, popularity, importance, respect. And the last one is self-actualization. It's actually the fuzziest or the harder to grasp, but you can think about it in this way. You can think about utilizing one's abilities and talents to the maximum, or seeking happiness, or pursuing a worthy goal. In the core of Maslow's theory, each level has precedence over the following one, meaning that physiological needs need to be satisfied before you can move on to safety needs. Later works pointed out that in reality this isn't always true. We can think about the starving artist cliche, or how we can sometimes see ordinary people who do heroic deeds foregoing their needs for safety, for example. Now, after its original publication in 1943, Maslow himself produced several revisions of his hierarchy. He amended some of his arguments, and he added levels. Others have also built on his structure, or they propose their own different structure of human needs, adding elements like the need for freedom, or power, or for adventure. The hierarchy that we will be using tonight is this one, which includes 3 additional tiers to the original 5 that I've mentioned, namely cognitive needs, aesthetic needs, and transcendence needs.
Awesome. Super interesting. So MJ, tell us exactly how Maslow is relevant for educators.
I'm glad you asked. As we've just seen, Maslow's hierarchy can be a great starting point from which to understand our students' behavior. Have you ever been completely mystified by one of your students who's completely despondent, unresponsive, and lacked engagement in class, only to realize weeks or months after that that kid is not eating breakfast and or lunch and is mostly hungry all of the time? As I pointed out, Maslow's hierarchy is not necessarily strict, but generally speaking, it's fair to say that if a student is hungry, he will have a harder time concentrating on learning. I'm sure you've experienced that as a teacher, right?
Yes, for sure I have. One challenging aspect that I find as a teacher is the fact that our classrooms are so heterogeneous. So while the basic needs are the same for everyone, Maslow recognizes that everyone is different. Therefore, there are many factors that affect how each person satisfies their needs. Some of the factors include culture, personality, gender, age, disability, socioeconomic status, and the list really goes on after that. These differences affect where and how each individual meets each level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us might have a harder time meeting Maslow's first stage, for example, shelter, whereas some of us are born into a family of money and can easily achieve the first stage.
Yep.
Yeah. So take what Maslow calls esteem, for example.
Mm-hmm.
This is particularly if, like us, you teach teenagers, Maslow's esteem needs is very important, is a super important one in high school education. You see it particularly in little cliques or popularity wars, or if you're just walking in the hallway, if the kid's walking in the hallway. So, however, not everyone's needs are satisfied for respect and the status in the same way. So some of our students, particularly girls, have a greater need to be accepted and validated by their peers. And that will affect the way they behave in class. So they might be less willing to answer questions, or they're not 100% sure on what they want to say, or even participate in oral interactions, for example. Another example would be a particularly introverted student who might not feel the need to be included in a group for either activities or school events.
Mm-hmm.
So this touches on a very important concept in education, which is differentiation.
Yes.
And this is where the challenge is to make sure that your 34 students get all their needs met in 34 different ways. So sometimes you need to look at the problem beyond the individual fulfillment, right?
Right. Totally. I mean, Maslow's hierarchy was designed for individual needs, but it can also be applied to entire communities. For us and for our student, the community is the school. It requires a little stretch of the imagination, but once you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. So if we look at the table right here, you can see it all laid out. All of the needs from physiological to self-actualization are represented and addressed. It includes things as simple as providing nutritious food and clean bathrooms, to having a nice building that showcases arts and has agreeable lighting, to activities that help students develop their full potential. It sounds deceptively simple, but if you've ever set foot in a Quebec school, you know that some of these concepts can be quite challenging. And as a teacher, of course, you have very little control over, say, the quality of food or the quality of lighting, but you can have control over creating a safe space in your classroom and proposing relevant and engaging activities, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Some teachers really do go all out. You can see it on Pinterest. It's actually kind of crazy, but they create thematic classroom, or they integrate flexible seating with armchairs and beanbags. It's actually really cool. You can also make sure that your lesson plans integrate cooperative learning and that your class rules promote respect and justice.
I like that, MJ. Thanks for that. So just to conclude, I would like to say that everybody has goals and aspirations. Everyone has needs and wants that need to be met. This is important for people in terms of growth, spiritually, physically, and even mentally. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs helps us understand how to achieve our needs. Nobody really agrees on exactly how the basic human needs need to be met. However, one cool thing that we found is the need for relatedness and belonging is present in all the theories that we've looked at so far. So for teachers like us who spend their days surrounded by teenagers, the one simple truth is that we all need to feel like we belong.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.